Welcome, everybody, to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr.
I'm Dawn Giesica.
And JD is somewhere in New Orleans. We had him here just a second ago, and then we lost him. We'll see if we can't get him back on here. But as for now, it is another beautiful Sunday evening here in the hills of Eastern Kentucky. And Don and I are going to try to fill JD's shoes. I would say if we can get JD back on, it's going to be pretty interesting, Don, because he is in Sin City. He's in New Orleans.
I know. I don't know what it'll be like when he gets back on, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. In the meantime, we'll just, I guess, talk about him.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we could totally talk about him. Brad and I back in the day would take these moments when JD wasn't on to really praise Trump. Because
that's what we need to do, yeah.
Yeah, because, JD loves that. And he loves it when we praise Trump. So, we always kind of start the show out just talking about each other's week. So, Don, how was your week?
Oh, it was good. We didn't do much this week at all. Just, work, raising kids. Like I said, I'm always blessed. Hung out with mom some. That's always good. And that's about it. The kids are still in Florida. They're heading back. I can't wait to get them back. But other than that, not much.
So I think, everybody that watches this show, and maybe more so me and JD, would like to know, how much trouble did you get in after last week's show when we decided to throw the bras away and free the nipples and, and do all that stuff?
So, mom was not impressed with me throwing down little teeny tiny cuss words, and they're little. So I did get a little scolded about that, but I really don't cuss. I don't drink. I don't do anything. But when I get riled up, I will throw in little cuss words, and mom didn't like that. So I did have to apologize. And then I told her I would remind everyone that I love the Lord. I'm Christian, and I truly am. Jimmy Don. I'm just not perfect. So sometimes it'll fly out if I get riled up, but it was interesting, but it's fine.
No, same thing happens to me. Like, I don't really cuss and I don't so much drink anymore. I will occasionally have a beer or something, but I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a big, drinker anymore. I used to be. I used to be a wildcat. But, I grew up, had kids and all that stuff kind of goes to the wayside. Sure. And so that's who my mom knows now, right? She doesn't know the old, Jimmy Don anymore. So if I get on here and I say something out of line or whatever, I'm 100%. And it's one of those things we talk a lot about.
Yeah, get a little smacking.
Being from Eastern Kentucky, we're all really close with our families and our parents, and our parents don't stop parenting after we grow up and have kids, or at least mine don't.
Right.
So
mine doesn't either. And, I want to be held accountable because I do, I have children. I'm a mother, I'm a sister, a daughter, a friend. I don't want to be, throwing myself out there looking, crazy, balls to the wall. So I want to be held accountable. But at the same time, I'm just not going to be as uptight as some people are. And I think that's perfectly okay. I mean,
I agree. Yeah,
I probably should have said boobies last week, and I'm going to work on that. But, sometimes it just happens. So.
No, I thought it was great. And like I said, it made me laugh when your mom commented. Yeah. Like I really did, because my mom won't comment. But as soon as I get done with the show, I'm getting a phone call. Hey, young man, you need to watch yourself. Yeah, you need to watch yourself. I think that's funny. So
thank God for good mamas.
Absolutely. And I'm a total mama's boy. People ask me all the time, like, why'd you move back to Eastern Kentucky? And I said, because I am a straight up mama's boy. I need to be near my mama. So, guys, if you're watching the show this evening, make sure you comment. Don and I want to hear from you.
Yeah, we'll talk about whatever they want us to talk about while we ain't got JD on here.
Yeah, and like I said, if you want to bash JD, we will join in on that. Like, we don't care. We will 100% join in on that. But we're going to jump into a few topics this week. And Don, I think, like I said, since JD's not here, Donald Trump has been hinting that he is going to make a run in 2024.
Yeah.
And my first thought is that the left, or not the left media, this will tickle them to death because now they're going to have something to talk about. They can bash Trump. Their ratings are in the crapper, like the CNNs of the world, the MSNBCs. Their ratings are really, really bad because they don't have Trump to bash. And Biden is kind of a boring president. If that's what you like, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What do you think if Trump decides those happening?
I voted for Trump. I voted for him in the primary and the general, and then again when he ran against Biden. That does not mean that Trump is my king. And I need that to be very clear. I'm a political girl, but I'm more ideology and how can a politician better my life and my family's life. So when it comes to Trump running again in 2024, I think we will lose again.
You think so? Like
I think it'll be a little closer, but I still think that I don't think it will help us at all. I think, look, I would love for him. His policies were fine. I lived great under Trump. It was fine. Okay. And the economy was doing good. I didn't worry about, all kinds of things. To be honest with you, I felt like I had freedom and I had opportunity. And with Biden, we're actually lucky that we got Biden because we could have got a lot worse. But when it comes to Trump, his mouth would not stop. He took the bait on everything. Any fight that the left wanted to bring, he took it. And he just wasn't smart enough on that, in my opinion. And then we have to remember, there's a whole nother 50% of this country that does not want Trump. And they are still our fellow Americans, they're our neighbors, they're our loved ones, they're our friends and family. You can't toss what they want to the wayside and just forget it. And we kind of did that with, Trump. We did that with Obama too. I'm not just slamming Trump. It started under Obama. And we have this big polarization and this big divide that I don't think is healthy for the country. I don't think it's healthy for the younger generation that's below us. My kids, when we talk about like coronavirus and things like that, my kids are like, why can't they just give us the facts and let us make our own decisions? And it goes that way with politics. Why can't we just have people who want to work for all of us, not just half of us?
No, I agree, Dawn. And something Samantha said here, I don't want a president for entertainment purposes. And I don't either, Samantha, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I agree with that sentiment. And I actually agree with what Dawn said about Trump, because his mouth at times, like I agreed with a whole lot of his policies, and business for me, and that's something that JD and I have argued a lot about, is business under a Republican administration for a small business like mine is much easier. And the opportunity for growth itself is much easier because you get more of your dollars from the taxes. You're not taxed near as hard. Now, we haven't entered that yet with Biden as far as the true taxation and what a true Democrat administration does. I know what it was like under Obama to try to survive those 8 years as a small business owner. And it was much more difficult. And I know the people on the left don't necessarily want to hear that, but it is a fact. If you're a small business owner, it is much more difficult to survive under a Democratic regime, or I guess, presidency, than it is Republican. So in that sense, I think if Trump runs again, Don, I agree with you. I agree with you in that we'll probably lose.
We'll probably lose.
And I think we need to get somebody different, maybe that has a similar ideology as Trump, maybe like DeSantis in Florida.
I've already got Biden. Yes, I think that if DeSantis runs, Biden's done. And he knows it, and the media knows it. That's why everything that Florida does is all over the news in a negative way. They really want to box DeSantis into being crazy. I like DeSantis because he's Trump-esque. He's going to tell you, Jimmy Don, we're not easily offended. We're not. We grew up back here. People say what they want to say, and it doesn't mean that you fall out with them. It just means, okay, like Samantha, she's been my best friend for probably 30 years. We're two complete different sides of the aisle, but we respect that. So we don't get easily offended. DeSantis will still be able to talk like Trump, but he won't go so hard to where we lose elections. Trump had the last election won. He just needed to settle it down a little bit, but he wouldn't. It was fight. Let's fight over everything. In my opinion, at the beginning of the pandemic, he was doing good. It was a re-election year. He brought in the mercy ship. He went through all the red tape to get the vaccines done. We have to hand it. He did good. When he got to where the mask came into question, it didn't matter that we had one side that wasn't as scared of coronavirus. We still have to remember we have another side that believes the opposite. So for me, for him to just throw the mask to the side, I would have took a middle approach and said, okay, you don't have to wear a mask if you want to, but I'm going to, because I represent everyone, and this is a global thing, and I'm going to hit it every now and then. But instead, he took it like, he ho hum, man, I'm big and bad, and he got coronavirus.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think he was sicker than we all thought. I mean, I think
he was. Yeah. I mean, I would get out here and flip my middle finger up to COVID too if I had a team of 15 doctors. I had a military hospital. I had a helicopter be able to get me out of my yard and take me over, cut through all the red tape to give me the experimental drugs. Well, then hell yeah, I can ignore the coronavirus too, because I've got pretty good odds I'm going to survive because I'm the president. So it's kind of little, shift there, and that's when they were already going after him, Jimmy Don.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But Don, I've got breaking news. I hate to interrupt you right now, but okay. I have breaking news. JD Dameron from New Orleans has jumped on the stream, or at least his frozen face is there.
I love it. Look at you.
JD out there living his best life.
Living his best life in New Orleans. Is my frozen face
still there?
Yeah, but we can hear you okay. I mean, you're kind of like So how is New Orleans, JD?
Man, it's cool. Like just hanging out, enjoying the Big Easy. We just got back from the World War II Memorial. We just showed up yesterday. Tonight.
Oh, he's froze again.
No, he's frozen again. So we wanted to bring JD on. We're not sure he's going to be able to be with us tonight, but he is a trooper. He is dedicated to the podcast, and he wanted to be on if he could. So you're kind of in and out, JD.
Yeah.
Nope, we lost him again.
Oh, all right, we lost him.
So let's talk a little bit about this. I want to see if we both push back on this a little bit. So Trump dropped the ball on COVID early on, and I actually disagree with that. I think Trump did as well as he could do. I don't know, because nobody knew what was going on, right? Yeah. Nobody actually knew how to deal with this. And I felt like go ahead.
If that's the case, everybody dropped the ball, and they did, because nobody knew what to do. There was no right or wrong answer. China was hiding all the information. There were no facts being down. We had very few information on Twitter of Wuhan being under lockdown, and every time they would post something, it was removed. So I couldn't imagine anybody doing a better job right out of the gate. I mean, the Democrats, when he shut down travel, they called him xenophobic and racist and all of that. There was nobody going to do a good job with the pandemic at the beginning. And Trump wasn't responsible for the mask not being there. Obama was. And Trump didn't fix it. So you had two people to blame. Both sides were to blame when it comes to how the COVID, that's so hillbilly. When it comes to how the COVID was handled, in my opinion.
So JD, what we're talking about here is we had a comment from that basically Trump dropped the ball early on with COVID, and Lisa's following that up with. Sorry, Lisa, I'm trying to get on here. All right, remember the dismantling of the pandemic team? I do remember that, but it wasn't as extreme as what folks thought. It was during the restructuring, and it was before COVID actually became a thing.
Right. It was, but I'm going to side with her. I'm going to side with her on that, though, because being laboratory medicine, you should never dismantle pandemic teams, even in a restructuring. You should always be prepared. We've got people out here living with bats and cows and drinking off of their boobs and eating their brains. I mean, these people are creating all kinds of crazy crap. You know what I mean? We need to be ahead of the game all the time and have a team in place. So I'm with Lisa on that. I can swing in the middle.
That's the thing. Like you got to be able to learn lessons. You heard Don's not blaming Obama for the mask not being there, but when you dismantle the pandemic team, you're setting yourself up for failure. Those things are expensive to have in place, but they're way more expensive to not have in place when things like this strike. And so the cost of not having them has really been way more expensive than the cost of having them. And I know it's a budget issue, whatever, but you can't get rid of those things.
Right.
And then I heard you say that Trump didn't really drop the ball maybe as much as because the Democrats slammed him once because the travel ban. But it wasn't Democrats that did that. It was Nancy Pelosi who did that, who was a Democrat. But it wasn't.
She is the Democrat though, JD.
She's not the Democrat. Joe Biden.
Dude, she's the head of their party. Yeah. She's the head of the in
Joe
the
Biden's
House.
the head of the Democratic Party.
Not then.
No, well, she's just the Speaker of the House, though. So she just
right. But then she was the Democrat.
That's not fair, bro. It's not fair. You can't say because one Democrat said something, everybody just lie and believe that because that's not.
Schumer said it. She said it. I mean, there was a bunch of Democrats. There were a bunch of Democrats that said it.
He's going to vote for that travel ban.
Maxine Waters. Let's jump on. Let's list them.
Yeah, we could go down the list.
That wasn't about the pandemic. She was just being crazy about Trump from the very get-go. So the people who jumped on him about dropping the ball, calling him xenophobic over the travel ban was just one person. Period.
Oh hell no! The media does. Everybody does. Everybody called him racist. Everybody called anything the man did. He completely lost when it came to the left. He could have cured cancer, walked on water, or shit glitter, and he was still going to not impress you guys. Oh, is my mom watching?
Don, right here.
Oh my God.
Jimmy Don, what have I said about Nancy Pelosi calling him xenophobic for that from the very get-go?
No, JD has always said that, but I think you're wrong in that you're saying that she was the only one because she was not the only one. And there is something to be said, JD. When you are the head of the party, you were elected by all the Democrats in the House. You were elected by all them to be the leader of your party. And if you're the one
she's been there longer than anybody, bro. She's been there. It's her seniority.
Come on, man. No, dude, you have to be elected to that position.
You're making no sense on this one.
It's just like the same thing. So Mitch McConnell represents every Republican?
Yeah, he does when he says stupid stuff.
Well, I'm sorry then.
Yeah, when you're
the body elected him in there, so it's
the body elected him in there, so he is representing all the Republicans.
Either way, what we were talking about, JD, was if Trump runs again in 2024, what do you think happens?
I don't think the Democrats can beat him again in 2024.
That's odd because Don and I both think he'll lose.
See, we're worried about it.
Huh?
I mean, we don't think that
who's Democrats going to run against him? Joe Biden at 82?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll run for re-election for sure.
Yeah, I think they'll run him, and I don't think Trump can beat Biden. I think Trump did enough to where he pissed enough people off. Because here's the thing. Right. Well, there is Don and I both think DeSantis should run. That's who the Republicans should put forward is Ron DeSantis out of Florida. Because I think he gives them the best shot because he did, whether people like it or not, Florida did a pretty good job with the pandemic and people were able to maintain their freedoms. Right. And I think
Cruz would be the guy if it's not Trump.
That's a possibility as well. Cruz would be, Cruz is a possibility.
He's such a constitutionalist. He wouldn't scare me, but I'm not going to. I just have to say the truth. He doesn't scare me as far as his ideology by any means. He would be who I would pick, but he's kind of. He's an odd duck. So I don't know.
I just think he's spineless. I just don't think he has a backbone at all.
Yeah.
Do you think Cruz doesn't have a backbone? I don't know that I disagree with you. Yeah, I don't know that I diagree with you necessarily. Cruz would not be my choice.
He wouldn't be my choice either. And I respect him totally. I just don't. I wouldn't pick him over DeSantis.
I wouldn't either because I like the constitutionalist aspect of Ted Cruz. And I really do. Right. Same thing I like Rand Paul for. Rand Paul is a little goofy in ways, but he is a constitutionalist, and I actually respect a lot of the things that he says. Right. But I just don't think he can win a national election either. I think somebody like DeSantis would have a chance. It's interesting that JD said that he didn't think that the Democrats could beat Trump because neither one of us think Trump could win. Yeah. That's interesting.
I think they're living good in Florida, though, so I don't know how, if they run DeSantis, I don't know who could beat him. The left would have to come up with somebody, and they have nobody other than Biden. Biden's a good middle of the road.
Anybody but Trump.
You think they could beat anybody but Trump?
Yeah.
Really?
See, that's interesting. I don't think they could beat anybody.
I think that's because you live back here and you're surrounded by pro-Trumpers. But honestly, I really do. That may be where it's at. But if you get out and expand your base, because you're surrounded by red here, I promise you, in other areas, there's different shades of red. And
I understand that, but I just drove from East Kentucky to New Orleans, and I'm going to tell you, the Trump memorabilia I still see outside of East Kentucky is still plentiful.
Oh, yeah. He is. I mean, look.
I've never, ever seen anything like this. I've never seen a cult following over a politician. It's really, really worrisome. I just don't understand it at all.
Whoever they run against Biden is who I'm voting for. So I would hate.
What has he done that's so bad?
I would hate. I don't like it. I just don't agree with your ideology at all. I'm just not a Democrat.
What has he done? What has he done?
Nothing. Okay. He has done nothing, and he will continue to do nothing. You know why he's doing nothing? Because he's worried about the midterms. He knows not to do anything at all to disrupt the base. He can't do anything, or he'll tick off that left.
Well, let me ask you this, JD.
My taxes go up. My health care goes up. Everything goes up when I'm under a Democrat.
And you know what else goes up? Everybody's 401k goes up. Everybody, you know, we've talked about this on the show before. The economy has been cyclical for years and years and years. It always will be. Every time a Republican gets in office, the economy turns down. Every time a Democrat gets in office, it goes up. Period.
Well, that's untrue, though. Well, no, but okay, let's talk that out then. Before COVID.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
But you can't say before COVID, though, because Trump was in office for COVID. What did the economy do under Trump? Did he gain jobs or lose jobs?
It gained jobs.
Okay. Was the unemployment rate worse when he left office or when he took office?
It was worse because of COVID.
So was it okay? So when Bill Clinton took office, was it better or worse when he left office or took office?
I think it was better.
When Obama left office, was it better or worse?
It wasn't great.
It was way better. It was already in double digits when he took office, Jimmy Don.
Was it in double? Okay, I'm just saying. I'm talking.
So George Bush lost jobs. George W. Bush lost jobs, and all the Democrats gained jobs. So let's talk about it then.
All right. So I'm just taking what you said here. My 401k never performed better than it did under Trump. It never.
And it's the same thing, man. I've been saying for years, because he was set up, man. He was set up. George W. Bush tanked the economy, and Obama was fighting against.
I don't disagree with you on that at all.
And Obama was fighting a different battle, and it was gaining when Obama left. Your 401k, I guarantee your 401k was gaining when he left.
Not like it did under Trump, though. That's what I'm telling you. Right. It's not the same.
I understand that.
It doesn't matter what it gains when everything else goes up. Honestly. It doesn't matter. Everything else goes up. I mean, look at us right now. We're inflating left and right. So whose fault is that?
It's capitalism.
So what's the opposite of capitalism? We don't want it.
Communism?
Yeah. Right. And do we want that?
We don't want it. Look at the Cubans right now. Look at the Cubans right now. They're not fleeing because of COVID. They're fleeing because of communism.
I don't know anybody that wants communism or socialism. I know people that want a healthy mixture of things that work and things that are human rights and things that are, going to allow people to move progress forward. That's what I believe in.
So, but there is a section, JD, and you have to say this, that there is a faction of the Democratic Party that 100% wants socialism.
Yes, there is. And there's also a faction of the Republican Party who wants a dictatorship.
That's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
same thing on the left. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but on the left, it feels like it is. That's what I'm saying. On the left, it feels like
just because you're on the other side, brother. That's the only reason it feels that way.
Okay. Like I said, I was actually glad to hear Biden say the other day, he actually said communism is not the answer and socialism is not a good, backup to that. I was actually glad to hear that. But his press secretary, Jen Psaki, said the exact opposite of that in a press conference. It was just
she got
Biden.
In trouble.
Yeah, and she got in trouble. She got in trouble. And so it was, and that's what I'm telling you. They are talking about it. His press secretary talked about it. In a White House press pool meeting, she talked about socialism being the answer. And then you've got the squad who have gained a lot of control over the last little bit, who that's exactly what they want, is they want socialism.
So to refute that, I'm going to tell you right now, when Trump was in office, he talked about, asking to run for a third term because his first term was filled with so much turmoil. Mm-hmm. That's not constitutionalism.
And I would be against that 100%.
And then we have people who go, we're going to vote Trump in again. Then we're going to vote for Jared. Then we're going to vote for Ivanka. Then we're going to vote for the son's name. I can't remember his name. That's just one dictatorship, man. It's one of the same people. That's what dictatorships is. That's how they start.
Yeah, but that wasn't a whole arm. These are elected people that Jimmy Don's talking about. You're talking about just Trump, him crazy self saying things like that. But there wasn't elected arms that were in agreement.
Yeah, but that's the big stick, though, right? That's the big stick talking about it. So that's major. That's more concerning than. That's more concerned than 3 junior senators.
Yeah, he lost. And let me tell you, Trump didn't lose because the Democrats came out in droves. He lost because independents and moderate Republicans didn't vote for him. So I hate to tell you, oh yes, there's plenty of moderate Republicans that swung over, and independents too.
Right. They swung over and voted for Democrats.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they all came out because this guy was so polarizing. Absolutely.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't just a big Democrat push. People didn't want Trump. Well, they did not want Trump. They voted against Trump. They didn't vote for Biden. They voted against Trump.
Oh, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people like Biden. A lot of people, myself now, was I really super excited about Biden? No. But do I think he was the right guy for the right time? Absolutely.
Right. Who did you want? Bernie Sanders?
I would have took Bernie.
Yeah, see?
And that's the problem now, too, is because Bernie is a big has said in the past, talked about Fidel Castro and things like that. And now you've got people in Cuba that are fleeing because of the essentially oppression that they're receiving there. And then they ask Bernie about it, and Bernie can't really answer the question. And that's concerning to me with Bernie. Like, there was a time, I listened to Bernie on Joe Rogan. And I thought, well, he's not as crazy as the media makes him out to be, because he was able to answer in a more free-form way. But then when you back Fidel Castro in Cuba, and then you see what's happening in Cuba right now, that concerns me with Bernie.
So let's talk about what's happening in Cuba, though. That's what I think we don't understand. We just see the end result. But what has American diplomacy against Cuba done to Cuba? It's absolutely destroyed Cuba. It may not have been the communist or the socialist programs. It may have been the fact that the biggest country in the world with the best economy in the world won't do business with them. That's what's devastated Cuba. A lot of people won't make that argument.
No, I've seen that argument be tried to make, and it's I just don't buy it.
Lay it out. Why, Don? Why do you think it's the biggest?
I don't know. I did not research enough of it to be able to argue it completely. So I would have to refrain from that. But I just don't buy it, because it was a Cuban friend, and all she said was, "It's not about COVID, it's about communism," and that's all she said. And so I didn't engage. Yeah, I didn't engage.
Let me answer back then. Okay, JD. So some of your argument makes sense to me. Okay. Like, some of it does, because I think the American policies towards Cuba, when you have a country that's 90 miles from your border and you're supposed to be the freest country in the world, then there is a problem with a country that's a communist country being 90 miles from you and you not really doing anything about it or that. But the problem is, if we changed our and Biden said this the other day, and I actually agreed with him. He said, look, we could send rations down there, we could send things there, but the government there would not disperse it to their people. They would take it. And that's a lot of the reason why America hasn't done anything from a political standpoint or a socioeconomic standpoint for Cuba, because they know it will not get to the people. There has to be a regime change and a change in the way of thinking before you can make those, that I think, in my opinion, before you can make those changes there from a socioeconomic aspect.
So I understand it, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying when it comes to are seeing the A pages and all that stuff. I agree totally with what you're saying. But when it comes to trade embargoes and those things, I couldn't disagree more with what you're saying, because trade embargoes will now create jobs where we can buy goods and services back and forth.
No, and you and I agree on that part. We actually agree on that part. But I just don't think you can do that until there's a change in the policy there, as far as, a regime change or whatever, where it's not a communist regime, because
we deal with China, bro. We deal with China every day, all day. Cuba's worse than China?
No, and that's a great point, actually.
I agree on that.
That's a great point. I mean, you're not wrong. And we deal with China every day, but China is an economic power that we have to deal with to make the economic engine run. Cuba is not. Right. That would only be my pushback to that. Yeah, because you're right. That's a great point. We deal with China. But that's, but I think as far as an economic engine, you got to deal with China. Hell, everything you drive around, this blows my mind. And I know this is kind of changing it, but it's the same thing. Driving by a car lot right now, and look how few cars are on the lots, because those chips are made in China by one company for every car, and we can't get them.
Right.
That is crazy.
We shouldn't have went in that deep with China, but that's what made them a powerhouse. So I agree.
That makes your point good, JD.
I agree with JD on that too.
I love you all. I'm going to get off here. They're in there going crazy, and I got to get back to my family here on vacation. I just wanted to come by the Joe Said Bourbon podcast and say hi to everybody. It's going great here in the Big Easy. I'm about to get wild. But
have fun, JD.
I love everybody watching, listening. See y'all.
Well, while you were here, that was a good spirited debate, and I enjoyed it. And I love you, man. I hope you have a great time down there in the Big Easy.
All right, see you guys.
All right, my brother. Be good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, silly communism.
Oh yeah, stupid communism.
Silly communism. It's not even worth arguing at some point because I mean, my God, it's just not. I don't want the government telling me everything that I need to do to my body, what I need to eat, where I'm going to go. It's just not my thing.
Well, let's jump over, since you said that, let's jump over just a kind of a story over in Norway when it comes to social media and how you can post and, you know, the fact that you have to say that things are edited. Talk a little bit about that, Dawn, and what we saw happen over there this week.
Right. So we talked last week about social media and the pressures on young girls and things of that nature, the pressure to look perfect. Well, in Norway, they passed a law that states that if you post a picture on any social media platform and it is filtered or photoshopped or improved in any way, then you have to list that it has been edited. So they're doing that in order to, you know, give these girls a chance to where when they look at a picture, they're not thinking, oh, I need to look like that, because they need to realize what's going on, you know, lighting, filters, nose jobs, Botox, hair extensions, all these things. So I thought that was an interesting law that came right after we talked about social media last week.
So, no, yeah. that is interesting. I wonder what's the reasoning behind that? Like, what do you think the reasoning for that is? I mean, I know, you know, one of the things we talk a lot about with social media, or at least I talk to my girls about, is that likes don't mean love. It's not love. Yeah. It's, you know, and then too, as far as self-image for young ladies, specifically young ladies, just because I have daughters and that's what I deal with. And I'm sure it's the same for young men as well, is, you know, if like they think that these girls actually look like this a lot of times when they're really edited up, and you can speak to that probably where your daughter is a model and you know, you're in that world.
Yeah, I'm in that world. It's funny though, in modeling, it's completely different than like beauty pageants. Like modeling, you can't go in with like hair extensions and false teeth and all that stuff. You have to be pretty close to, well, you have to be natural, but I guess some of them get tweaked. I don't know. But when it comes to the law that they passed in Norway, I think it's because of mental health. I mean, you have people looking at this and then they stop eating to be a certain size. They worry themselves to death thinking their hair is not long enough, not thick enough, you know, not parted to this side or not parted to that side. And it puts a lot of pressure on these kids. And we're talking about babies. I mean, I call everybody baby, I'm Southern, but we're talking about teenagers, early 20s, but we're also talking about women, full-on women, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s, that also feel the heat when it comes to people modifying their looks and then putting it out there. Now, for me, I think that everybody ought to just be confident and be able to look at a picture and go, okay, that's filtered, whatever, and scroll on by. But it's the likes that you touched on, because if you'll notice, the pictures that are the most heavily filtered seem like they get the most love. So that puts pressure on, you know, little Jill over here who's posting a natural pic versus somebody over here who's completely filtered and fake. And I think that they're recognizing that that's detrimental to the female mind, because, you know, we think that we all need to look that way.
You know, like I said, I worry about it more from the female standpoint, just because of my daughters and how they react, because they are on social media so much. Right. And, you know, as a guy, look, I'm an old man now. No, I'm not old. I'm young. I'm 46 years old. I'm not that old, you know, but I've got the dad bod, and I've got a little more of a dad bod than I care to have right now because of COVID, and I couldn't get out and do what I needed to do, you know, to stay in shape for me, because I have that tendency otherwise to be lazy. So I don't worry about it. For me, I just am who I am. And, you know, but like I said, I'm 46 years old. I don't even care. You know, Amy loves me no matter what. Yeah. So, you know, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. But you worry about your baby girls.
Absolutely.
Because we really don't want to raise girls to where they think that they need full makeup, full hair, all of these things in order to have value or worth, whether it's to themselves or to a man or both. We need to empower our girls and embolden them and go, look, like I just posted a picture earlier of me in a bathing suit. I do that so my girls know that I'm confident and they learn confidence from me. But if I stand in my mirror and I'm like, oh, this is wrong and that's wrong and this is wrong, my girls are going to do that. So I think us as mothers need to look at it like that and go, okay, I don't want my kid thinking that, you know, she's too fat or too skinny. So I'm going to be confident and say, hey, you look beautiful. We'll work on this or work on that, but don't worry about it. This is who you are. It's a scary situation and a slippery slope with social media, but we really have to be careful on what we're putting worth on.
Let me ask you this, Don, because it's just me and you talking here. Ain't nobody listening. So I'm just going to ask you. So the thing that worries me as much as anything are the bathing suit pics that they put on there. Right. And look, this is just me being a dad. Okay. Right. And the problem is I'm also a guy who, if I see a bathing suit pic, a pretty girl online, you know, appropriate aged online, and I'm like, oh, that's attractive, you know, like that looks good. And I like that as a man. Right. But it worries me for my daughters that they are putting those out because like you said, a lot of times it is the really Photoshop pictures or the edited pictures or the sexy pictures or the things like that. And my girls will put bathing suit pics on sometimes, and it smothers me out. And Amy's like, look, that's not bad, you know. And so Amy's kind of my moral compass when it comes to that.
Yeah, I agree with Amy. I think that men are just going to have to smother because when it comes to females, the female beauty is honest to God beautiful, no matter what shape or form it is, that we're beautiful beings. We really are. But when it
this is my boy from college.
You need to post them anyway, Jason. I mean, really, the female body is beautiful. And it takes a lot for anybody to put a picture especially wearing a bathing suit, up for criticism. Right. So I don't have a problem with people posting bathing suit pictures, no matter what their shapes is or anything like that. I think that they've got to do what they've got to do to feel confident. So it doesn't bother me. I can see where you're coming from on the dad side I don't know if it's so much as the bathing suit that's bothering you. I mean, I'm sure that is. It's more of your baby is growing
becoming a woman. Yeah, it does. Like, maybe that you're probably right. That bothers me as much as anything.
She's growing up and she's coming into herself. And I think it's great if she feels confident enough to put a bathing suit picture on, because especially up on social media, because I know so many girls, Jimmy Don, that cover themselves up in the summertime because they're so traumatized over what they think they look like. So I would much rather have my kid posting bathing suit pictures than being too scared to get out of her bedroom.
Well, let me ask you this question, because there are some positives, I think. With that, I actually did a loan for a girl, bought a house, and she's a full-figured girl. She's beautiful. I mean, she's gorgeous, but she is a bigger girl, like I said, full-figured, and she has a massive, massive following on Instagram for body positivity. And, and people send her clothes. Like her husband was telling me that they have a room that is stacked from floor to ceiling with clothes that people send her to try on. And, and she posts these pictures on Instagram, and she has this massive following because of that. And I think do you think that's positive? I mean, a positive aspect of social media and women?
I don't know who you're talking about. If you're talking about like women who are carrying excess weight or who are obese, then absolutely not. I do not agree with that at all. And I'll tell you why. We cannot cherry pick science. Whether we like it or not, we can call it fluffy, chunky, curvy, whatever you want to call it. If you are falling into the obese category, your heart doesn't care that you're calling it fluff. Okay? Neither does any of your other vital organs. They don't give two shits that you're calling yourself curvy or fluffy. They are working extra hard to keep you alive. Your joints, chronic disease, all of that. Absolutely not. If we're getting to a point to where we are going to embrace obesity and call it beautiful, then honey, we've got a lot more than coronavirus to worry about, because that kills. Obesity kills tons of people.
Sure. And that's an interesting take.
Now, when it comes to body positivity, I'm not saying that you can't be proud of your body. You don't need to be a size 0 or 2 or whatever. but we have got to figure out what's our message. Either we're telling people that we want you to be mentally healthy, but screw the physical side and gain 100 pounds and tell everybody else who weighs, 300 pounds and you're standing at, 5'2", that we're pretty. I'm sorry, you're still pretty, but you weigh too much. And if your doctor is telling you that you are not obese, you need to find a new doctor. So we can call it whatever we want. And I know people are jumping on that bandwagon and they're all about, be proud of your body, be proud of it, be proud of your body. But why on earth would you want to run your body to where you could lose a good 7 to 10 years of your life? I don't get it. Why are we so irritated now if people are in shape? Why does that piss us off? I mean, look at Europe. They don't tend to have the problem like we do in America. We are getting bigger by the day.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, no, and those are great points. There is an aspect of being healthy, versus, you can be body positive and be positive, but also try to be healthier.
Try to be healthy.
And that's something for me that it's always been an issue for me is my weight. I mean, I was never, I've worked out my whole life, but if I don't really watch what I do, I gain weight. I have to, make a conscious effort because my lifestyle, in the sense that the way that I work is sedentary. I sit at a desk. I have to force myself to get up and walk around.
Right. But why? But I mean, why? I mean, honestly, that's where we're going with this body positivity movement. Why bother? Why bother forcing yourself to get up and walk around? Right? That's what they're selling. See, we're going from one extreme to the other. It was 10 years ago, we told everybody that you had to be 5'10", 125 pounds and a Victoria's Secret model to be beautiful. Now we're going to the opposite end and we're saying you need to be overweight to be beautiful. Why can't we just be normal and just go right down the middle and go, look, let's be as healthy as we can be for our body type. With some people, that might mean that you're going to weigh, I don't know, whatever your doctor says is 20 pounds overweight. But for most people, it's going to be with that BMI chart. So
right. So what Holden is saying here too, I think is an interesting point. Eastern Kentucky is a food desert. So as far as good, healthy options of things to choose from to eat, that is an issue. We talked about that with Appalachia and, with some of the other things. That is an interesting take because we don't have tons of choices when it comes to, I guess, good, healthy food outside of in the summer. If you live where we do and you grow gardens and things like that, to me, there's not a better food source in the world than good garden food because you don't, you don't get all the preservatives or all the extra chemicals and things like that they do when they mass produce food. And
that's something our food desert does not help us because the foods that we have are riddled with preservatives. And we know that chemicals mess with the endocrine system. And when the endocrine system is messed with, then you honest to God have people who are on diets constantly and can't get over this plateau. And that's because of the food messing with their systems. So yeah, I agree. We totally live in the food desert. But we're educated now. We have the internet. Everybody has a cell phone. We should know better than to sit down and eat 2 pizzas a day and wash it down with Mountain Dew and then expect to go to our doctor and him be able to keep us alive. That's just cold, hard facts.
Well, I want to steer this conversation a little bit back to social media. I didn't mean to get us down in that food range, but I think that's interesting. Okay. I think that's an interesting topic. But I do want to steer it back and a little more. We were talking about Biden and, some things that Jen Psaki said this week and even Biden said about Facebook and, and social media from that standpoint, being able to control what is on social media. The White House wants the ability to be able to, and Facebook was the one that was talked about, was to be able to control if they see something on Facebook to be able to take it down. And that, Don, scares the crap out of me.
It should scare you.
You're already seeing it on Twitter and have seen it on Twitter for the entire Trump presidency. You saw that on Twitter, that there was one ideology that was getting censored. And on the left, there were some people on the left that were getting taken down for really, really extreme kind of crazy thoughts. Sure. But for the most part, it could be just kind of an average conservative right-wing person who believes in conservative values could make a post, and they would get censored. And then the fact that a presidency, a White House, and I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, the fact that they could censor what is on social media and the free form of information is a massive problem in my mind.
It should scare everybody. It should scare every Republican and every Democrat. I am so thankful that I'm confident enough in my ability to reason and to critically think and come up with my own belief system to where having friends who don't believe the same scare me to where I don't want to be around them. I know people who will only be friends with Democrats. I'm dead serious. I have neighbors back in Knoxville that won't talk to me because they know I'm not liberal. They don't know what I am. I shift between libertarian and conservative, but they know I'm not liberal, so they won't talk to me. They've you can still be friends on Facebook, but they won't follow, so they don't see any of my posts because they can't stand me because I have a dissenting opinion. So censorship is something that everybody should be scared of. We should be able to talk and communicate. We should be able to hear somebody with an opposing idea and not melt down completely. What is going on with the comments? What was Miss Reagan saying?
She put up here, which I thought was good. That's why I wanted to put it up. Social media is good if you're strong-minded enough for the potential hate you could get on it, and if you can refrain from criticizing yourself and comparing yourself to others. In that case, social media can be a great place to express and share your inspo.
Yeah, Reagan's defending my body positivity thing because she loves everybody and wants everybody to be able to post everything, and I agree with her on that. So. Yeah.
That's also, her youth, and where she's at. And I don't think that's a bad way to be.
It's not. And she's innocent in their generation. And I've got Holden here too. They truly are innocent. Like that generation, I think what are they? Generation Z?
Yeah, Z.
I mean, from the Zs that I have in the house, they truly do encourage each other. Like they've got friends of all different shapes, sizes, colors, religions.
My girls do too.
And they do not care less whatsoever. It's these older generations that seem to be battling it out with things, and I don't get it. So I just don't get it. I have a lot of hope in Generation Z.
No, I do too. And because it was something, and not to get into this conversation, I want JD here for this particular conversation, but it was something that I heard. It was a dad say when they were talking about critical race theory. And I heard this dad say at the school board meeting, he said, look, your job is to teach my kids mathematics, English, history, things like that. It is not your job to teach them how to behave towards other races or, that's my job is to teach them to be kind people. When I go to a parent-teacher conference, the one question that I ask, my girls take care of their business when it comes to their grades. They know they have to. Mm-hmm. That is just expected in this household. My question to the teachers is always this, and it's always the same. Are my children kind?
Yeah.
Are they kind to other kids? What do they do? And I've always got the answer I wanted to hear. So as long as that's the case, but I think to your point, they don't see race. My girls don't see race. They don't see sexual orientation. They don't see any of that. They see their friends.
They see their friends. They see how they treat each other, each other's treated. Yeah, that's really how mine do too. And of course, mine go to a large, diverse school, and they just don't get it. I mean, really, they just don't get why people would dislike somebody over their color of their skin or over their belief system, including Democrat and Republican. And with the censoring, I don't want to stay in an echo chamber. I don't want to be in a box with just like-minded people. That does me no good. That does no good for me whatsoever. I have to have people who will argue with me and debate with me because my position can change. Now, is it ever going to change to where I vote Democrat? I'll be honest, it's probably never going to happen. But you can get me to understand issues that I'm not really following if I have somebody that's my friend that's able to talk to me about it and give me their perspective.
You can actually get me to vote Democrat. I have voted Democrat. I voted for Obama the first time that he ran. Like, I actually voted for Obama.
Oh, Lord.
I was raised a Democrat.
Lord, have mercy.
Yeah, no, I did. I voted for the man.
I like Obama. When it comes personally, I would love to hang out with Obama, but I cannot vote Democrat on a presidential level. I haven't been able to in my adult life so far. got close when it come to the Trump time, as far as not thinking I'm going to vote for, Trump himself. I was more of the libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson.
Sure.
But no, I just can't take that attack on healthcare, and I can't take that attack on my taxes. I'll be honest, Jimmy Don, I don't want to work and not get my paycheck. I want absolutely. As much money as I can.
I don't disagree with you, but I think JD's point is, and that's the part where I am different in that my dad was a hardcore Democrat as I grew up, okay? But the Democratic Party was very different back then. And a lot of people, it was more workers' rights.
Mm-hmm.
It was workers' rights. And that's really not the party. And people can say it is still that party. It's not. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Yeah.
It is my dad would not be a Democrat today.
Mm-hmm.
I know that with everything in me, he would not be. But coming off Bush, it was so bad, even in like my world, as far as being self-employed with taxes, and like it was awful. Like it was a bad time.
Yeah.
And Obama seemed different, and I wasn't ready to. He said the right things. He said the right things to me. But now, once he got in there and he started doing his thing, I couldn't vote for him ever again.
He's a great orator for sure, and I'm sure he's a great person. And I respect President Obama. I respect all of our presidents. You see how easy that is for me? When I have some friends who are Democrat who would never say they respect all of our presidents. It's a service position. They don't have to put themselves in that position. I know it comes with a lot of power, but I respect the back and forth, the wax and waning that we do. I just don't align. I'm a pro-life girl. I don't make any apologies about that. That doesn't mean that I tell women that they can't have an abortion. I just don't want anything to do with it. You can have an abortion all you want, but I don't want to pay for anything. I don't want to pay for the building that you're in, the electricity, none of that. And as far as I'm a big military girl, but where the Republicans get me is the social issues. I don't want to leave my gay friends out. I don't want to war with them. I don't have a problem with gays. I don't have a problem with the LGBT community. None of that. I don't have a problem with people who've lost their job and need an extra hand. Take my taxes for things like that. But I don't want it to be to where I'm helping people permanently forever. I don't think that's what the welfare system is meant to be. I think it's something to where we help you when you're in a hard time, and then you kind of work your way up. But some people argue that they don't know if the American dream is still there. For me, it has been. But it has been
for me too.
But it may not be for everyone, because I know people who have never stopped working, Jimmy Don, and they still can't get ahead. So are we telling them that they're not good enough for the American dream? They've done everything they could, but they still can't get ahead. So with those types of people, I don't know. It's a complicated. It's a complicated matter, but.
And Dawn, we've got about 8 minutes left here. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to touch on something else. I know where you live in Tennessee. I really wanted to get your take on this topic. And Tennessee, I guess they got rid of their vaccine chief this week. And I just wanted to, where you live down there and you're around some of those people, I was just kind of interested to know, because that obviously, especially on the left, and the way the left and the right view COVID and different things, like what was the temperature down there when that occurred?
Well, let me be very clear. Tennessee has some of the best healthcare providers that you could possibly find. We've got University of Tennessee, we've got Vanderbilt, we've got all types of good schools. There is no way on God's green earth that our children were ever in a position to where they could not receive a vaccine. As far as the vaccine outreach program, from what I understand, we were shifting that program to a different department. It didn't mean that we weren't going to communicate about people needing to get their vaccines. It just meant that another department was going to take that over. But we had this one doctor, and I guess she was the vaccine chief, and she inquired about our mature minor doctrine. So we have a law in Tennessee that says that if you are mature enough, then we can treat you without parental consent. Okay, it's meant for like super extreme cases, from what I understand, like Jehovah's Witnesses and things like that. But this doctor inquired about it, and she wanted to she definitely was meaning to circumvent parents. She wanted to use the doctrine in order to give the COVID vaccine to children who want it. with or without, without parental consent. So Tennessee pushed back on that because, and me as a parent in Tennessee, I will not let my kids get any type of medical procedure done to them as long as I'm paying the bills. I don't want Reagan or Brooklyn or any of the kids getting a procedure done without my knowledge, coming in the house, I still don't know, and then they go upstairs and have some type of side effect, whether it's to a vaccine or abortion or anything. I would rather know what's going on. That way I can help them if they need help. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I'll just be trying to figure out if they're sick. But yeah, so that's what went on in Tennessee, and then the media just ran with it, and they acted like we were just stopping everything across the board. We're talking about health departments, the Tennessee health departments. What she wanted them to do was when a kid comes into the health department, she wanted them to be able to get the COVID vaccine if the parents didn't agree and if the kids seemed mature enough. She sent that out to all the other doctors in the Department of Health, all their little doctors, okay? Well, those providers pushed back. Several of them pushed back because they didn't feel comfortable. We're not talking about Tdap. We're not talking about MMR. We're talking about the new COVID vaccine. They felt like that would put them at risk of getting in trouble if they were given this COVID vaccine to a child without the parents knowing. So they ran with it. The media did. Tennessee fired this vaccine chief. She put out there that, you know, everybody was against her and all this stuff. And then 2 days later, everything was retracted. So, but nobody talks about that, right. You know, but the health department went in and was like, oh, we just want to be clear. You can still come in and get all of your vaccines, including COVID. All of these vaccines you can get. We're not, you know, killing kids down here in Tennessee. It was just blown out of proportion. But, you know, the Gallup poll come out, I think it was like this week, and it's at a record high of people not trusting the media. I'm not talking about Republicans and Democrats. I'm talking about collectively. Nobody believes the media these days. That's why these podcasts are so popular, because you get to build relationships with people that, you know, you've known. So people trust our opinions because they know we're going to research as much as we, you know, can. But when it comes to media, they have an agenda.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I'm here to say this. If somebody in Kentucky gave my child a vaccine without my approval, I would sue them to high heavens. Yeah. I mean, I would, because look, I'm not anti-vaccine. I have not been vaccinated yet, and I may still get vaccinated. I just haven't decided. I've always said I don't want to be first and I don't want to be last. Right. But I just need a little more information. I'm a little more skeptical, I guess, than other people are, and that's okay. I don't want to be judged for that. I don't care if you go get the vaccine. That's fine. Do you. Be you.
But that's you. You're a grown man. Of course, you know, all of us will get the vaccine, but we're talking about kids that haven't went through puberty yet.
Right. That's the part that, you know, you best not stick a needle in my kid's arm without
and not
my approval.
Ask me. Right.
That's right.
I better not spank them. Don't touch them without me knowing. That's just how I am. Don't do anything without me knowing. But like I said, our MMD, our mature minor doctrine, it was meant for super extreme cases, because you have Jehovah's Witnesses and people like that who will have, you know, these religious beliefs that don't allow them to accept blood products and life-saving things. So, you know, what are you going to do if you have a kid that comes in and, you know, you can save them? Then that's different. But this is completely out of line. It really is. It's out of line. It's not fully FDA approved. I am completely vaccinated. Well, partially vaccinated. My family's vaccinated. My girls are, you know, we're not there yet, but we're working on it. We'll probably get one. I'll be honest with you. I still don't know if there's a need for two. But, I just don't think that you should be able to do anything without parental knowledge. And case by case is different, I'm sure. But when it comes to new vaccine, no.
No, I agree with that 100%. Like I said, I am not prepared. I've seen evidence that for my child and for my daughters, it is not the right thing to do. And they are very low risk of really, you know, ultimately the worst happening if they were to contract the virus. Now, there are outliers in everything. You know, there are kids that age that will get it and will die. I think somebody told me about a 4-year-old in Michigan that passed away, but that's an outlier case, you know. And I just want to be able to make that decision for myself. I don't want, and for my, you know, me and Amy have the discussion, And then whatever we want to do, we do with our kids. And that's all I'm really looking for at the end of the day. I just don't want to be dictated to by the government about what I have to do with
and
my family.
I think the majority, people are like that. If they'll just educate us and give us the facts, I know for sure we are not dealing with influenza. Coronavirus is a complete different beast. It's got a 2% death ratio. I mean, we're losing hundreds of thousands of people to coronavirus. That's a fact. Okay, I get it. Where the flu is like, 30 to 50,000, I think. It's a serious virus, and I'm all for everybody getting the vaccine. I just don't think that we should launch the crazy, National Guard come around and start shooting it out like tranquilizers. And that's kind of how it's starting to feel. I mean, just settle down, give us the facts. Don't scare us.
And then we will make the decision.
Don't scare us and don't fluff it. Just completely give us the facts. Talk to us reasonably, and you'll have the majority of parents choose to vaccinate their kids from 15 and up. But when it gets from 15 to under, honestly, those parents are, they're concerned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree, Dawn. All right, we are at our time, and I think that's a good place for us to stop. So, see, it goes by so fast. And, Dawn, we don't need JD. We'll just kick him off, and we'll just do it ourselves.
I know, right?
Yeah, we don't need JD. We don't need those. We don't need those dissenting opinions. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, we had a comment last week. I don't know if you've seen it, or it might have been in my DMs about you guys needing to wear bras in solidarity with the ladies' one show.
Well, look, I told you that. I mean, I don't care, but nobody wants to see this chest hair, and nobody wants to see that.
I bet if you let them vote, they'll vote you guys in bras so fast.
That would happen That would happen in a second. And that's why they don't get to vote.
That's why we're going authoritative.
That's right. No. But no, I had a lot of fun tonight, Dawn. I think that was a great conversation. And of course, we love JD being on here. And that was a joke. Half the reason I do this podcast is because JD doesn't agree with me. And I like to have those discussions. That's the part for me that I really dig about it, and having the open freeform discussion. We argue, but then when we get done and we're buddies again, and it doesn't matter. And that's how it should be.
That's how it should be. We need to respect the other side and be able to talk to them. We need both sides.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So guys, we appreciate you coming and spending a little time this Sunday evening here with me and Dawn on the Just Add Bourbon podcast. Of course, you can find us over on Podbean, iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, wherever you can find podcasts, we are there. Just type in Just Add Bourbon and we will pop up and you can subscribe to us. Also, JD runs social media. Eric, I saw Eric on here. Eric used to run our social media. He was much better at it than JD is. I'm just saying, but
we love Eric.
Yes, we love Eric. So, but JD runs the social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. Go check us out over there. And as we always in this show, from myself and tonight, Dawn, no matter how bad your week's been, no matter how bad your day's going, if you just add bourbon, it always gets a little bit better. We'll see you guys